Let's go ahead and start with Percy. Percy, go ahead and kick us off.
Awesome. Hey, Sue.
Hi.
Hey, obviously, before the season, there's just been a lot of talk about the advancement of the league, that all of that has happened over the past 25 years. If, from just a player standpoint, I'm curious as to how much change has there been from like a coaching standpoint, right? Like just, has that changed much since like you got into the league, or has that part of it kind of remained the same there?
Well, it's kind of twofold. I think it's remained the same in that a lot of the names are the same. So there's a lot of coaches in our league that have been here for quite some time. But I think the influx currently of former players is starting to change coaching staffs and what they look like, the makeup of them, and having that former player can obviously change in terms of perspective. Players are just going to have a different viewpoint because they played. So I think the combination is a good thing.
Yeah, just to sort of change the point here, did you have any input? Oh, hello. How about now?
Jeff is there he goes. Okay, there's like some chain situation. I'm ready.
It's all good. Hey, did you have any input on the championship rings and like just how they look? Have you seen them yet?
No, I haven't seen him. I actually prefer being surprised. It's kind of fun. That's how it was last time around too. So I'm excited.
And then just the last thing for me, did you see the ESPN film? And if you did, just your sort of thoughts on it.
Yeah, of course I watched it. I thought it was so well done. I thought it told our story in a wonderful, powerful way. I think for all of us that were in the Wubble, it brought back a lot of memories, both good, bad, everything in between. The good moments for us, obviously winning the championship, but also the hard moments in terms of what we had to go through as a league when Jacob Blake was shot. And I think more than anything, the thing that sticks out is when Breonna Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer, popped up on screen. I definitely wasn't expecting that, and to have her a part of the documentary is super special, and also just to hear her words and hear that we helped her in some small way at different points in time, I think was really meaningful. Sometimes, and this was also hit on in the documentary, like sometimes you don't realize the impact you're having because these moments in this social justice work they're not always tangible. You can't always like see or feel them. Every now and then you might have a moment, but generally speaking, and that's where some of the emotional exhaustion can kick in because you're not really sure what impact you're having. But then when you hear Tamika Palmer talk about, again, how we helped in some small way, it just makes it all worth it.
Yeah. All right, so thank you. That was awesome.
Thanks, Percy. Jeff Brown, why don't you go ahead, Jeff?
Hey, Sue, how are you doing today?
Hi, good, thanks.
So I'm working on an article just about how, the Storm have been able to kind of capitalize on their championship opportunities. Obviously, you guys have been to 4 and won 4, kind of like the opposite of the Buffalo Bills in the 90s, been to 4, 1-0. Just kind of talk about like, the importance of that, being able to capitalize on that opportunity because of, they don't come around that often, and what that's like for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely talking to the right person because, I've either won a championship or I've been knocked out in the first round. There really hasn't been a middle ground. And so what that teaches you is when you have a chance, you can't let it slip through. You can't, because the way sports is, so much of it is some luck, especially in the health department. So a lot of the Storm's history early on, like in the first 10 or so years, we had some teams. I mean, I could throw years at you. I'm sure Kevin Pelton could too. We had some years where we were on track to at the very least get to the finals, only to have like a huge blow in the injury department. So when you have a team that has a chance, when you're lucky enough to stay healthy, you really can't let the moment pass. It can be harder, it's easier said than done in a lot of ways. But I think for me personally, that's where my early experience, winning in 2004, not even getting back to the finals to 2010, and then not getting back again for another 8 years. These last 2 championships, I've definitely been vocal in the locker room about not letting the moment pass, because you're just going to regret it. You're just going to regret it.
Thank you. And then Coach had just talked to us about you and just how impressed he is with you in practices, even after you've been a veteran for so many years, that you work so hard, and not only just in what you do extremely well, but maybe even in areas that, are not your best features. And what does that come from as far as that determination? Like, where did you really build that to, be focused and not just what you're great at, but also the weak points?
I don't know. I'm just a big believer in, as a basketball player, we all have strengths and weaknesses. And I'm just a big believer in trying to maximize your strengths and play to them as much as possible. And then as time goes on, you do try to limit your weaknesses or hide them. And if you can improve on some areas, then you try to do that as well. I'm just, I think what I'm trying to get at is you just have to really be yourself out there. I can't imagine going out there and watching a player like Jewel Lloyd play, and then I go back home every night thinking like, dang, I wish I could do what Jewel does. You'll just be miserable all the time. So you really just have to identify those things within yourself. And it can be a process, and it takes some time, I think, especially for young players, but obviously I'm the opposite of a young player. So I really know myself. So in my off seasons, I've almost become addicted to making sure my health is on point, because I know if I have that, I can let the strengths play out. If I have that, I can work on the little weaknesses. Because the WNBA is so competitive, a lot of times the games really boil down to like a couple possessions here and there, maybe a couple minutes where, a team goes on a, 8-2 run, they win by 6. Like, it can be that small. So if you can eliminate, sometimes I like to talk about it in a way of stealing possessions. If you can steal possessions within the course of a game, both as a team and individually, that can result in wins. And those are huge in our league, because like I said, the parity is such where it doesn't take much to separate, or to be separated from.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Sue.
Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. Kareth, go ahead, Kareth.
Hi, Sue. Nice to see you.
Hi, you too.
Thanks. It feels funny to ask a player who's starting her 18th season, ooh, do you get butterflies before game 1? But what are your emotions before you tip off another season?
I think there's definitely some butterflies. It's not necessarily like a nervousness, probably more like in the anxious category, like excitement, wanting to get out there. But for me, I mean, the older I get in this league, the more I start to look at it like a coach. And so what that means is I worry about all the things that might happen or could happen. And that's where my nervousness lives, right? Like, it lives in the world of, oh man, we're playing against Vegas. They've got Liz Cambage and Asia Wilson, like X, Y, and Z could happen. How are we going to stop that? So my wheels are constantly turning, and that's kind of where this anxious energy comes from. I think as a player myself, it still exists because, I do want to continue to be great. Obviously Diana in the documentary said it perfect, old people can dream too. And I think there's something to that, because I still, when I step on the court, I don't go out there thinking like, oh, check out my rings and my medals. Now get out of, like, oh, everyone should just, the seas should part just because of that. I go out there thinking like, I need to prove why I was able to achieve those things. And I think that mindset, it gets your juices going a little bit, but hopefully at my age in a good way, because the balance between that and the experience kind of tames that a little bit. So when the juices get flowing, the experience of having done it before, it can kind of calm that down. So that's kind of how I've been able to manage all of that energy.
Do you know somebody already put that D quote on a t-shirt?
As they should.
Yep. It's already there.
Oh,
Well, because she continues, like, there's no age limit on being great. And I think when people see at the high level, you and Dee and some of the other people are playing at, they do point to your age because what you're doing is extraordinary.
Yeah, I wish more people could look at it that way. What's interesting is ever since I turned 30, it's been the questions of when are you going to retire? What are you going to do? I don't know if that's a female athlete thing. I really don't. I don't know if male athletes get the same questions. Part of me feels like as a female, it's as if this shouldn't be a career path, as if it can't be. You couldn't be that successful making that much money where this could last you. I feel like people's mindsets have to change in that way. But more than anything, I kind of joke, we're myself, Diana, and I don't say this lightly, LeBron James, Tom Brady, I think we're changing the conversations. That's mine, sorry. I think we're changing the conversations of what it means to have a long career as an athlete. I think the way I always joke about it is 40 is the new 30. Although I found out today, oh my gosh, guys, this is just terrible. I found out today that our new teammate, Kiki, her mom is my age. We have the same birthday. Like she's 40, the same way I'm 40. She was like, oh, no worry. She's a young mom. I'm like, she's a mom to my teammate. She's like, she's excited to meet you. I was like, yeah, she probably wants to like hang out and get drinks. We're the same age. That blew my mind. But anyway, I do think we're changing the conversation about what it means to be an old athlete or an older athlete, because we are taking care of ourselves in a way that allows us to continue to be great.
Thank you.
Devastating, just devastating.
Thanks, Garrett. I appreciate it. Kevin, Felton.
In here, I thought that was going to be a reference to geriatric millennials, that term. The news yesterday of Simone Augustus's retirement. Curious your memories playing against her and then with her with the national team.
Yeah, Moan is like one of my favorite teammates to have played with. She's got such an amazing demeanor about her, just has a chillness, cool, the whole like cool, calm, collected, that's Moan. But like underneath all that is a killer. Like when she goes out there, she's literally trying to kill, and that's her mindset. But she does it in this like smooth, almost like flies under the radar type of way. But at the end of it, if you let her, she will kill you. So as an opponent, that was not always, it's not always fun to play against her. You know, one of the players that you just constantly had to know where they were on the floor at all times. Just super smart. Like I said already, but like her game was just so smooth. And I really don't know, we've seen a player with the floater that Moan has, just that sweet, sweet touch she has around the basket. She was super unique when she came into the league, and still to this day, I don't know that we're seeing a player that was quite like Moan. So, well, I'm sad to hear that she retired. You know, I texted her. I know she's at peace with it. She's obviously moving on to be a coach, which is amazing. It's great that she'll stay in the game, but just a wonderful, wonderful career. Obviously, a ton of championships, both in the WNBA, gold medals. So that speaks for itself. But like I said, one of the more unique players, and to be honest, you never wanted to be ISO'd against her. You just didn't. She was the one that, I don't care what anybody says, any player that ended up on her with the shot clock running down and she started to get into her, her creative ball handling, and you were on an island, you dreaded that moment. That's how good Moan was.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin. Larry Stone, why don't you wrap us up for today, Larry?
Yeah, Sue, heading into a new season as the defending champions, but with a lot of changes on the roster, I was just wondering what you think of the potential of this team.
Yeah, I mean, the team has great potential. I think a lot of people, for some reason, forget how good Stewie and Jewel are. I don't know how that's possible, but I think we have the hard part. And this is coming from just the years I've been in this league. The hard part is getting your franchise players. That's the hard part. After that comes, filling in the holes, developing the chemistry for the last, whatever you want to call it. Obviously we won the last 2 of 3 championships. So if you want to keep it kind of short term in that way, we've had the chemistry and we filled the holes. We found a way to do that. So now we're starting over in those departments. So for me, the way I look at it, I think the potential is extremely high. But those areas are the areas, particularly the chemistry one, that we have to let unfold. And my personal take on it, the early part of the season, we can't let dictate who we are, because there's going to be some growing pains. The good news is this is the situation for a lot of teams in the league. There's a lot of teams that are dealing with shakeups in their roster. So we're all kind of in the same boat. But for this team especially, we have to just keep the long-term goal, which usually isn't the case, in mind, which is we have to continue to get better, continue to develop that chemistry, and be peaking at the right time. Now, the sad part is, you don't want to lose too many games in that process, especially given this new Commissioner's Cup. But I think overall, that needs to be our mindset. Just every day, not expecting to have it all figured out after one training camp, where, by the way, half the team wasn't even there. So we have to, as we go along, continue to develop that chemistry. Chemistry is going to be the key for this team in terms of our potential.